Hey guys, what is up? My name is Lucas Scheffel, the creator of Angry Squad Viva Las Angry. It's live on Kickstarter at the moment. Features a guy named Angry Fred. I'm coming to you from my caravan in an undisclosed location. So tonight, this is like a live show that I've decided to do with a very good friend of mine. I'll introduce him in a minute. And the purpose of tonight's show is just to explore obviously the new comic book series that I've successfully funded here on Kickstarter, but also talk about cinema and a little bit about life on the road in a caravan with my family. So without further ado, I have a very fine friend joining me today, award-winning filmmaker, Adam Jamsek. Hey Adam, how you going, buddy?
Hey, how you doing, big fella? Good to see you, man.
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's good to see you too. I just want to thank you for coming on this live stream tonight and to discuss all things about my comic book and about cinema and a few other things in life that are going on. So yeah.
Oh man, my pleasure. My pleasure.
No, thank you very much. So first off, before we get started, can you just introduce yourself and like how you know me and what your background in filmmaking is and so forth?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I've had the honor for knowing Lucas for a long time in my life now, for probably the last maybe 10 or close to 10 years, I think, or around that 8-9 years.
Oh yeah, it would be, yes.
Yeah, I reckon so. So I grew up with film pretty early. I was a very lucky soul to get introduced to cinema and films at a very young age by my beautiful mother. We used to watch films like every single night, and it was kind of weird, I was like around 10 and we were watching The Shining and we're watching like all these 2001 Space Odyssey films and watching like Kurosawa films. I remember the first time I saw like Seven Samurai or something. Was crazy.
Wow.
And so through that I just established just incredible, like already intricate love for film. And I was growing up in a very small country town in New South Wales, and the only outlet to kind of express my love for cinema was through just TAFE. And it's funny how the universe kind of aligns things and kind of brings people into your life that you need to. And I met like my mentor Paul Fogo there, and he taught me everything, right? Like, he's pretty much taught me everything about film, and we're still friends today, and he's still an amazing creative and cinemaphile. I mean, sometimes I think I know cinema, but then I don't compared to him. He's just incredible. He's just incredible. And like, he introduced me to this guy, this really crazy guy. I don't know how crazy he was, but he introduced me to this man called Andrei Tarkovsky, and after that, I was just ready to marry cinema, and that just opened my eyes up to a whole new world of storytelling and atmosphere. And then it became like a serious thing where I was lucky enough just to know that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And it's obviously been a bit of a struggle, obviously, but I mean, it's still so strong. So I met Lucas when I first moved down to Melbourne 9 years ago, I think, coming up to 9 years.
Yeah.
And I was just like a really, really eager young dude with lots of energy. I just wanted to jump on sets and get to know people and connect with people. And I was jumping on a few sets here and there, and I met Lucas's partner first, actually, Julie, on a film, and we bonded really quick. It was really quite nice. And then I remember after we jumped off that film, she sent me an email and she was like, "Oh, do you want to come work on us? We've got a couple of short films." I was like, yeah. And I went along, and that's where I happened to meet Lucas. And I think in my experience being in Melbourne, it was like my first time where I had kind of intricately connected with someone and had conversations with someone who kind of really knew the depths of cinema that I was trying to operate on. And I was just so blown away. I was like, yeah, this is it. And then, it's I don't know if there's really much else to say, because we just connected so strong from there, and I was just happy to be around that energy, and I think it was vice versa. And I was such a pleasure for me to work on Lucas's short film, Dead Therapy, which was an awesome experience for me, man. Like, I mean, I might have not been doing much, but just being there was just like, wow, this is so cool, and seeing seeing someone who a lover of art and watching someone who's a lover of cinema as well, just trying to create something is special. You know, you got people creating for money these days. You got people creating just to create something for the sake of it, and then you got people who are creating because they love it, and that's what I experienced on that. And I always knew I was around the right energy with that, and then vice versa, you helping me with my film and stuff. And then, you know, the beautiful story of it all is, you know, you're traveling around Australia in a caravan, and I'm, you know, I'm here in Melbourne, and we're still so connected, and we're still always connecting. I don't think I still don't think there's a day that goes past where we're talking about what films we've watched, or talking about great cinematographers or, you know, directors that we've experienced. And then it's just it's just always so refreshing. It's always just like it's like you know, it's like bouncing back on. So that's my story of how I met Lucas, you know, through the crazy adventure of, you know, the right people were supposed to come into your life at the right time. I'm a big believer in that. I think that's what happened with Lucas.
No, I totally agree, man. I'm truly grateful to have you in my life, and it's fun. It's fun reading what you write in the way of scripts and so forth. And what's even more fun is seeing you direct your film Solace, and going to the screening of that was, you know, truly an amazing experience. My son Phoenix actually came to it, and I think he was only very small. He didn't like the applause too much. We had to take him out of the cinema. But anyway, that's another story. But your film Solace was a really
he's turning out to be David Lynch already.
on some sort of transcendental meditation. But yes. Tell us about Solace and where that took you. It took you actually across the world, Solace, as well, making that film, and from, you know, go to woe. Not only did you,
it did. I mean, it's funny, we talk about transcendental experiences. I think that was certainly one of them. You know, like, I mean, I won't go into the background too much, but I had come from my previous place, Armidale, with a little bit of stuff that had happened previous before that, and it was almost like an escape to go to Melbourne, and it was a new chapter and all this, and I was trying to kind of shift on from certain things, and you know, I was jumping on sets to sets and trying to learn the world of independent film here in Melbourne. And, you know, a lot of observing took place, and I was kind of getting a feel for what I like and what I don't like and all this. And, you know, I mean, as any writer or people trying to be a writer, which I think you could probably put me in that category, or trying to do something, you know, you have these moments of where you're not doing anything. And I was certainly in a space like that where I just wasn't really writing or wasn't really creating, and I didn't really know what to say. And it got to a point where it was like, okay, it just kind of came to me, and I thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write. There's something in my head. There's an image in my head. I'm going to write that. And it's so funny. Like, when I sat down, it just all kind of came out really quickly. It was when people ask me this question, I keep on saying the same thing I have for many years, which is almost like it wasn't really me who wrote it. It was kind of something very subconscious and something kind of internal and it was almost like it was something was coming out and saying things that I hadn't been expressing for quite a while. And, you know, and so the story was, you know, it was about this father who leads his terminally ill son into the heart of the forest, you know, in search for a magical healing bird. So the story itself already is quite ambitious with what, you know, and because, you know, I wanted to incorporate dreams and memories into it, and I think we did that pretty well. And it's also a story about obsession, you know, and the inability of letting things go, you know. I think humans have a major fear of passing on in this life. I think that's where you know, resurrection comes from, the idea of, you know, another life and or the like immortality, I guess you could say. People were, I think, were afraid of that, you know, and we kind of want to live together, and we can't kind of accept the fact that things do die. And I think that's what this film kind of really focuses on. And it's like the pain and the you know, the frailty of that. And yeah, and it was a big film. Like I feel like I put like a feature film effort into it. It's pretty solid short film. It goes, I mean, we did like, I think we did 7 months pre-production, 7 days of shooting. I think it was about a year and a bit of post-production, you know?
Yeah.
And I like spent $60,000 on it out of my back pocket pretty much. And, you know, and it was a very, like, you know, when people say what genre is it, I always kind of return to what I always say when I'm creating something. It was personal genre. It was personal cinema. That's what it is. And that's a genre to me. And I'm someone who doesn't really believe in genre, you know. And that's not me saying that genre doesn't exist. It's just I don't feel like I need to be conformed by it. You know, genre is the same as an emotion. It changes very quickly. And so, you know, and then it was this very vast film set in the forest. You know, we went and shot down Great Ocean Road, down in Lawn, and right in the heart of the forest. And it really took a lot out of you, but it also taught me a lot. I learnt a lot. But it's funny when you transition out of that, out of the moment, and then you look back, you go, wow, that was actually an incredibly beautiful moment. And the things that were happening were actually quite magical to an extent, you know. And then, you know, after we made it, it took a while for it to get going, which I think is understandable because of the length, and it's quite a European influence film. So Australia obviously struggles to click onto that kind of stuff, and they don't really like that kind of stuff. Or, well, I mean, that's my opinion of it anyway. But we kind of really struggled to get going in Australia. It was hard to kind of to connect it with audiences here. And I thought, okay, look, I put a lot into it, but that's fine. We've got to be happy. We made a big film. And with that, I'm happy. So we kind of left it a little bit. We kind of disconnected it from a little bit because I thought it was done. And then I was lucky enough to get a call and to say that we got accepted into LA Film Festival, and I was blown away. And the first thing I did was I got on a plane and I went over there to support it. And sorry.
Oh no, I'm just when you went to LA, I remember getting a call from you on the night that it screened, and you actually won an award, and you were super emotional and happy, which really made me happy. You know how much energy you'd put into this film, and I was like, he's done well. So
that was incredible. Yeah, and like you said, it was so nice to be there in person to then to witness it winning Best International Short Film. You know, I was like, wow. And then from there, you know, to then get accepted into Berlin and Manchester and London and Louisville, and then come back to LA again for a second time, and then finally be accepted at Sydney. It was just like I felt very privileged, and it was nice to. It felt nice. I mean, and we came away with multiple awards at multiple festivals. Now that's always lovely, right? That's always lovely. You always take that, sure, okay. But I have to say, I was so enthralled and just so fulfilled because I was like, wow, I'm getting to see the world. I'm getting to see parts of the world that I've always wanted to see because of my art, and I can't ask for anything more, you know. And then
that's what it's all about.
And you know, to go to Berlin and just feel the essence of cinema and how much people love film over there, and how much they cared about it, and then to do like Q&As over there and do an interview for Berlin SBS. It was like, wow, this is just. I was just like, wow, I'm like expressing my art, and people just seemed to connect with it, and really just came back to me with a lot of stuff that I wasn't even expecting. And you know, and now it's been 6 years since that film, and it still gets invitations to screen at cinemas, and It still gets invitations to come and be shown, and it's quite nice because when I go and watch it again, it feels like it's grown as I have over the years as well. Like it's kind of hardened, or it's kind of shifted into a different kind of light or different source. And you know, it's kind of the way I look at it. It's really hard to make short films because short films inevitably don't have a life expectancy for too long. You know.
No.
So without trying to sound too arrogant, I mean, I feel very privileged to have made something that has longevity about it. You can still watch it, and there's always. I'm happy because it feels like there's constant growth with it. It's always shifting. It's always kind of manipulating or you know, evolving into something else, which I love. It's like a human being.
Yeah.
It's evolving.
Oh yeah,
it's beautiful. So I like it. I'm really proud of it.
Well, you should be very proud of Solace, because it's one of those films that you watch and you sort of step away from it and you have so many questions around, you know, what is going on in the story and like with the characters and so forth, and then it sort of prompts you to go, well, you know, maybe I need to answer those questions within myself to truly understand what this story is actually about, because you know to me that's what, you know, true art is, I guess, is all about, really, in that respect. It's, you know, it's interesting when, you know, you hear, you go to these, you have question and answers for your film and people ask you, like, they say, oh, you know, maybe this is what the film's about, or this is what the film's about, but you know, that's that person's interpretation, and you as a director don't have the answer to that, you know what I mean? It's like, well, you have your own answer, but that's something for you, you know. It's
no, that's right.
That's you know, that's sort of, you know, and I think you've done that really, really well with, you know, Solace. It's such a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
It's it's
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man.
Thank you. No, thank you. Just to give a shout out to some of the people that are here at the moment. We've got a Sigmet Studio, SK's saying hello. We've got Hector.
Hey. Hey, Hector. Bonjour. Bonjour.
Bonjour, Hector. And we've got Michael on board saying hello, and we've got Julie. Julie's here.
Hey, beautiful.
Jules is here. So thanks for tuning in. I think Phoenix is probably in bed right now. So yeah. So yeah, man. Like, so I think we're going to segue a little bit here and go. I know we've been talking about your great, you know, cinema background. We're talking about all these in-depth films and like your film Solace and so forth. And now we're going to talk about a film that's very, very, very far on the spectrum of things, and it's called Army of the Dead. So for those of you that don't know, like maybe I think it was about a month or two ago, basically Zack Snyder came out with Army of the Dead. It's I guess it's a zombie heist movie where a bunch of I guess ragtag misfits come together and they go into zombie-ridden Las Vegas to steal a bunch of money for some rich Asian guy. And obviously, you know, as any zombie film goes as it goes, there's a lot of carnage, a lot of blood, and a lot of people sort of die along the way. But there's a lot of I think there's a lot of fun emotion in this film. Like there's a lot of camaraderie and just some fun, cheeky moments as well that make it for a fun film, like a really, really fun film. But yeah, like especially coming off of like Zack Snyder, coming off the Snyder Cut and all the other, you know, superhero stuff that he's done, like it doesn't get too much. Hasn't been treated very kindly. I think this is sort of it's very interesting watching the behind the scenes around this film, especially when Zack Snyder talks about it. How, you know, he directed it, but he also DP'd it, and he was very hands-on in that, and some of the choices he made when he was shooting it. It is very immersive to the point where he was like hacking lenses that he bought off of eBay from Japan, from what I understand, and putting them onto like, you know, these red cameras and just having it on his shoulder and having this crazy depth of field, like stuff coming in and out of focus, and you know, really, really intimate, as you say. And I don't think with this film, like most of Zack Snyder's films I've talked to you about this before, Adam, where we
Mm.
feel like his films are very overproduced digitally, like to some points where it's just, it looks too. So, like for instance, say in Justice League, where Jason Momoa Aquaman is sitting in front of a big wave with a bottle of bourbon, and he's throwing a bottle of bourbon into the wave or whatever. It looks overproduced, so digital, but it's Zack Snyder.
Yeah, he's supposed to be protecting the ocean, man.
It's supposed to be protecting
Right? He's supposed to be protecting the ocean, not throwing shit into it.
Yeah, I know, but it's but like with that, it's very stylistic. But with Army of the Dead, yeah, it was stylistic and stuff, but it was very intimate, and it felt like he was getting back to his grassroots a little bit with this sort of stuff. And
yeah, I agree, man. I agree.
Yeah,
it's like he stripped it back completely,
yes.
which I really liked. It was like he was using authentic, natural colors. I was like, oh, okay.
Yes.
Because look, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest Marvel or like DC superhero, film guy. Look, you know me. You know that, okay? I'm still gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch them to an extent and enjoy them. But it's so funny, like watching exactly. But watching the latest Justice League, I remember watching it, and I was like, it was really hard for me to visually grab onto detail because there was just so much going on, and I couldn't really focus on what was happening. I was like, I feel like I'm losing the essence of these action scenes because there's just too much happening. And then I saw the trailer, like you said, for Army Down. I was like, wow, this looks so fun. This looks so cool. There's really a energy about it where I was like, wow, this looks kind of cool. And then I remember sitting down when it came out, and I remember watching it, and I remember just like the opening kind of shots and the opening imagery and the opening feel, and I just thought, whoa, this actually looks pretty amazing. Like I remember that was the first thing that I actually initially thought. I was like, wow, this actually looks like really crisp. It looks really crisp and it looks really clear. Like straight away, I was like, wow, it looks great.
Wow.
And like you said, and then I was like, well, I'm into this,
Well, it's especially like the opening scenes where, where like the story, you expect the story to be about a bunch of guys that, are hired to go in to steal the money from this zombie infested area of Las Vegas. But, obviously that happens, but these guys have already been in this situation before, which is something you don't expect because they're the ones that put these zombies in this sort of cage around Las Vegas, and you never vowed to go back, but now they're the ones that are going back, and they're not well off. They're just working shitty jobs and just trying to get by, and they're just whatever. They're not recognized for what they did originally. But what was really interesting from the get-go was that opening scene that's in slow motion, where they're all just slaughtering the zombies and stuff, and it's you're seeing shells from the guns popping out and big chainsaws coming through zombies and stuff. Like in the song, like they used obviously Viva Las Vegas, but Elvis wasn't singing it. It was like a cover. And I was like, wow, what is, it really set up the film for like, this is what you're going to expect. Like, it's going to be a wild ride, like buckle in and get ready. And here we go sort of thing. And it didn't take itself too seriously as well. It had fun. It was very, it was cliched. Like, had cliches and stuff. But it was good. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah,
I loved it, and also like, well, I was just gonna say what I loved about it was, and again, like you wouldn't expect this as a film for me to jump on board and love with everything I watch. But then I remember what I distinctly loved about it was so in that opening sequence, which obviously reminded me of Watchmen because he kind of did a similar thing in the category of that. He sets up this really kind of epic scale of what's happening. And then what I like is the film doesn't then go over that. I feel like it's this big world, but then it's told through the connection and kind of complexity, if you will, of the characters within the story. So they're kind of feeding the external big world. And I just love that because I think it's just such a clever way of telling immersive stories, which is what I'm trying to do as myself. I'm trying to make big worlds in my script, but still kind of showing that and allowing that to kind of create itself within the person's mind through the characters that were in that. So we get a sense of them. And,
yes,
you know, we kind of, you know, we're in such a impatient age where people just want shit right now. You know, just want it. They want it. And there's no essence for anything to build or, you know, to manifest nice. And I thought this was a really nice, slow build. Like we got that whole epicness at the start, and then it built, and then it built, and it built. And I was like, man, this is cool, you know. And we got to know these characters within, you know, maybe in very short moments, but they were really just very playfulness, quick moments. And all of a sudden, like, you relate to it and go, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then, and then what that does for me later on in the film, I find myself actually, I find myself really liking these characters then later on in the film. And because we're in a hostile environment, I then think, oh no, I really like that character.
You don't want to
like,
see him
I actually
die.
genuinely feel like I don't want that person to go. I was like, don't kill that person off. And
it's
that's
like
what I want in a film, man. I don't care if it's an action film.
It's the heart. It's the heart and the soul, and that it shows in the character that the German guy Dieter plays, and the black guy plays Vander Rohe. The relationship at the start is so like the black guy's like, oh, what is this German guy on? Like, get him out of here. But then towards the end, it's like a bromance. You know, it's like it's really like
that's right. The way they
it's like
the way they come together at those moments and like that's heavy, bro. I just thought this is great, you know. And it's like you said, man. A lot of those films miss the mark where they just take themselves a little bit too serious and then try to throw comedy into it. You know, I just think Zack Snyder says, you know, it's just like, hey, we're gonna have a bit of fun, you know, and
definitely.
And I think when you do that, you actually create stronger essence of what's going on within the moment of films, and you're like, oh wow, there's actually, I don't know, it's almost like it feels almost more human because they're kind of reacting in a human way to what's actually happening, and then you feel the threat, and you know, I just thought, but you love Dieter, and now because of how much I loved his character, I can't wait for his movie to come out because it just looks great.
Like,
you know? I'm gonna watch that.
Thieves, is it? Yeah, Army of Thieves, is that right?
Army of Thieves, man.
Yeah. That's the trailer for that's quite funny. Just some of the lines that the Dieter character says, you know, with you know, have you heard about the zombie apocalypse? And you know, his reaction's very matter of fact and very very astute.
Yes,
in the way
I'm aware. I thought of it.
I'm aware. Yeah, it's quite funny, but you're right. There's a lot of there's a lot of empathy for the characters in this one, and you care about them towards the end, and you don't want to see them die. I didn't want to see anyone die. Like, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but you know, it is a zombie film. It's going to happen, but it's just one of those.
Well, see, that's what I also liked because he created a really good balance between that. I reckon because he really created a really strong balance between I don't want these characters to die, right? But then he also created a really strong line straight to the middle. We're like, far out, I want these characters to die. Like these guys need to get wiped off real quick. And he's like frustrating you, you know. It's such a beautiful fine line, but it doesn't play into the conforming nature of how normally these films would go. Maybe it does, of course, near the end. Near the end, of course, it does.
It does. But of course.
Halfway through, it still kind of plays it. Of course, but kind of halfway through, it keeps on like, we're not going to give you that. I know you want it, but we're not going to give it to you.
We're not going to give it to you.
This is this just felt different, you know.
Yeah. Well, another different thing as well was the way he portrayed the zombies as well. Very much. You know, there's a bunch of zombies that are very much human-like, you know, and they've figured out through evolution, being in that area, they've figured out their own sort of rules and class system, and you know, rituals and stuff like that. So not letting people pass unless you give an offering and all that sort of thing. So very territorial. That was a really good. Like, you even felt emotion for like the head zombie guy when he, you know, loses his, you know, I guess his wife who's pregnant or whatever in the film.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, it was something like
there's something there. You know, there's some sort of emotion as well connected to that, which I thought was really quite a nice touch. But yeah,
I agree. It's probably like it's obviously not in this similar vein, but what I liked about it is that it kind of reminded me, like in the adventure way of like going on a journey, like gearing up for these guys and going in with them, which I love in films. I love when that happens in a film, and it reminded me of like Aliens, you know, like with the Marines are setting up. You know, I'm like, and they build it, like, you know what I mean. They don't go straight to the planet. The film builds up, like, all right, Marines, we're building up. We are heading this place. This is the danger. This is the danger we're going to. And like, I remember that. Like, one's not funny. I get it. And this one is. But it's like, it's the same temperament. It's really building it up. And you're like, wow. And so when you get there, you're just like, you're on edge, man. You're anticipated now. You're just like, all right, we're here. You know, we've just watched an hour. I can't wait for this now. You know, and it's just like, it's all worth it now. So just reminded me of like that kind of stuff, you know, you're like, okay, cool, you know, or even like we go to the opposite Alien film, which is Predator, reminded me of Predator as well, you know. It takes a while. It takes an hour until we get to the Predator. Like we'll see it before it starts wiping off the Marines, you know. It just builds. Yeah, and you can do that wrongly. You can do that really poorly. I've seen films do that poorly. And people go, oh, this is really boring. I don't know what this. Come on, hurry up! Something happened. But this, it kind of, I think it got it right, and
it's a nice
it allows. It's a nice dance, and it allows you as an audience member, or for example, for me personally, I wasn't bored, and it allows you to kind of be entertained by the chemistry of what's going on.
Yes,
and then the action. If you're an action person and you want the action, well, you get that too. So it's
that as well.
Such a good balance.
Yeah. No, I agree. The whole chemistry of the characters is great. Like you've got obviously Dave Bautista. You know, he's very big physically. He's a big guy, but you know, he
scares me.
Yeah, he's scary, but there's a lot of emotion in that as well. You know, in the way
there is. Yeah.
There's tons of it, and then you know, just like so many other characters, like the eccentric helicopter pilot. She was, you know, this eccentric character that quite funny with the moments in there.
And then like. And then for me, I love like Garrett Dillahunt, who I've known for a long time. Like, I think he's got an amazing, and you know, excuse my language, but he can play a mean, crazy cruel in this film. Like he just plays that role to a pinnacle part. You know, you're like. Man, this guy, you know, he's just like, get rid of him.
Yeah. Well, they did.
He plays it so
kind
well.
of a horrible, it's a horrible way to get rid of
like,
him.
Oh man, oh wow. I was like, okay, that's why the films are rated.
Yes, exactly. But
it's good, man. See, like, it's good because I see a lot of the funness. Well, that's not a word. People, other writers, don't question me, but. I see a lot of that and good energy from this film, like in your comics as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later on. But that's why I kind of really like it. It's got that kind of just I'm gonna have fun with this. This is cool.
You're gonna have fun. Yeah. The ensemble team dynamic. You know, people. You know, sparring against one another, and you know these films are quite entertaining, and you know that creates that energy that pushes us along, and obviously makes us care more for these characters as the story builds, as you say. But yeah, no, it's something refreshing, and like the music was good. Like I obviously mentioned, there was the Elvis. There was actually an Elvis track in there that I hadn't heard for years. It was some random. I think it's from one of his movies that I just was like, oh, nobody's actually ever heard of that film, that song. But some of the music they use in there, like it's amazing. Like it's all covers, like of other people singing, popular music. Is this is the end? The Doors. I can't remember. That one was just like that and the Zombie. that was
yeah. Well, that took me back to stuff, because I was like, wow,
yeah,
you're using that, you know. It's good. I know that's I know what that's a reference to, you know.
Yes, that's
So
got a bigger,
it's
bigger
crazy.
reference than it's sort of what it, you know, what it's talking about. But yeah, it's some real good moments. But yeah, like, you know, like technically as well, if you watch the behind the scenes of that film, there's like a, I don't know, is it a 30 or 40 minute like little mini documentary on
Yeah, that was cool.
featurette
Actually,
the film.
that was cool.
Yeah, but it's really interesting how they actually like, and I don't think this comes through in the film, which is a good thing. It's like, you know, they went to the real Las Vegas and they mapped it out digitally with lots of cameras, and they got like a full blueprint, like a full CGI blueprint of the whole of Las Vegas, and they were using that to create, you know, certain scenes
it's pretty good.
trademark, you know, trademark landmarks within Vegas as well, which I thought was pretty nifty and neat. But yeah, seeing them,
well, even like,
well,
even like one thing that blew me away, which I didn't realize, was, you know, like the helicopter character.
Yeah. She wasn't there.
Like all the scenes that she had with Dave Bautista, she wasn't even there.
She was.
I was like,
yeah, they cut out the other character. Yeah, that's the person that played it. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, like she never. Apparently, she didn't even meet Dave Bautista until after the film. I'm like,
after the film, no. Some of those scenes, some of those scenes where they're sitting around, like when the Asian guy's like showing them the plan, and she's there.
Yeah.
And it's like she's right behind them.
Wow, okay.
She wasn't there. Like, that's, you know, I think I read somewhere that they had to, like, obviously, you know, Zack Snyder had to go in and, from a technical point of view, he had to light, you know, her on a soundstage that would match what they were doing, you know, in that scenario, and trying to get it right. And then green screen her and then place her in later on. And that's technically, that's pretty full on. Like, that's, you know, that's
over my head, man.
Yeah, I couldn't handle anything like that. That's
wow. That's really that is full on. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, worth a watch for anyone who's listening or watching.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely go watch it on Netflix. Yeah,
for sure. Something refreshing, fun. Just go do that.
Yeah, if you want to escape and just, you know, get your mind off of things, yeah, do it. It's a fun ride. You won't be disappointed. So another thing we won't be disappointed about, Adam, is your cinema recommendations tonight. We want to talk about some films that you would recommend to, I don't know, first time people who want to get into, you know, delve into some really cool cinema, or some people just want to, you know, watch something that is a little bit different to what, you know, maybe they're used to, or they want to open their mind and stuff. But yeah, what have you got? Oh, are you there? Hello.
Yeah.
I think we're having our own technical difficulties.
Yeah, man. Hang on. Sure. So when I was to give my film recommendation, very challenging, because I was like, oh man, it's like so much out there. I feel like I am someone who has seen a lot, like, to an extent, and have watched.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, guys. Are you just dropping the comments if anyone can actually hear Adam? I'm not sure. I think we've lost him at the moment. Unless you have lost me. Let's see. I'll just keep the show going here. Maura. Hello, Maura. How you going? Hope all is well. I'm assuming it's morning there where you're at the moment. I hope everything is fine. Oh, we have lost him. Thanks, Maura. Thanks, Jules. All right, so I'll see if Adam is going to join us anytime soon, but just wanted to talk about Angry Squad Viva Las Angry. At the moment, we are, let's get the stats up for it. I'll just quickly look. At the moment, we are, like, as of yesterday, we were 100% funded in the comic book, which is currently live on Kickstarter. What are we at? We are at, let's have a look. 1 second, guys. Sorry. Just got to get my stats up here. So at the moment, we are 104% funded. We've got 63 backers and 30 hours to go on the campaign. So just because we've funded it doesn't mean that it stops there. We've got 38 hours to sort of stretch beyond that main goal. And obviously there's going to be a cool bunch of stretch rewards. So if we, at the moment we're just over the $5,500 mark. If we hit around $6,000, I'm going to add 6 more pages to the book. I'm pretty sure by the end of this campaign we'll probably hit that. So everyone that's backed, you will get 6 extra pages of Angry Squad Viva Las Angry action in there. Martin Perso, the artist, and myself, obviously I've already written additional 6 pages to add into the book. It's waiting there to be slotted in if we get there, and obviously Martin's waiting in the wings to illustrate them. So that's a cool thing. Now, if we get beyond that, so say for instance we reach the $7,000 mark, we are going to add in, like, you're going to get a cool die cut sticker from the Angry Squad. So all physical backers are going to get that. That's if you go onto the Angry Squad page, so angryfredkickstarter.com/squad. I'll drop that into the comments. You'll see a bunch of the stretch rewards goals at the end of the Kickstarter page. I'll put that up there. So that is, going to be like the t-shirt design that Martin's done up. It's a really cool, funky design. It's got Angry Fred up the front with his arms crossed, and he's got a cigar, and he's got his love interest behind him, and the Vegas sign. So that's going to be a die cut sticker that everyone will get if we hit the 7,000 mark. Beyond that, there's like an 8K. If we reach 8K, I'll give everyone a trading card, like a nice, cool looking glossy trading card. And beyond that, there's like things like enamel pins and a behind the scenes featurette that I'll do up. But at the moment, like, I'm happy if we reach the $6,000 mark. That would, suffice me enough to get this book out to all the physical and digital backers on the campaign, which is going to be really, really neat. So yeah, let's give me 1 second here. See if I can get Adam back into the chat. Got a comment here from Maura. Maura said she was getting worried that we weren't going to get funded, and I was very worried about that too. But we got there in the end. Oh, here he is. He's back.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all right. I went on with the show. I kept going. I started talking about my Kickstarter. So
sorry, man.
It's all good. No,
my
it's all good.
As bad as bloody Kevin Feige films.
Don't worry, the whole of Australia has bad internet, so don't stress.
Yeah, I know. So I'm back better than ever. The internet didn't want to hear my cinema recommendations. So
no. Okay, well let's before it goes down again, let's get back into it. Your cinema recommendations.
Right.
Give me your top 5, and then maybe throw it down to two, then explain 2 of them.
Okay, so I reckon there's a lot of film school students out there who's like, oh yeah, let's go watch Pulp Fiction and 2001 Space Odyssey and Clockwork Orange and all this, and go watch Christopher Nolan films, which I think is all very good and helpful, but I reckon you need to dig deep and a little bit deeper and a little bit older as well.
Okay.
So I'm just putting out their films that have made a substantial impact on me in my cinema viewing. And I'm going to go from the top, which is the one that comes to my mind a lot, which is just incredible. And the film's bonkers, man. Like, even the way it's created is bonkers. And it's Apocalypse Now by Francis Ford Coppola.
Oh, gosh.
That film is...
Yep.
that is something to me, man.
Yeah,
and then I can't ignore this one. It's one of the most important films to me. It's from Andrei Tarkovsky, Stalker. Stalker is really something. If you haven't seen Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky, I would say you need to watch that straight away.
Tarkovsky is like a legend in cinema for sure. Yeah.
yeah, he's like a god, really. You know, and
Oh, yeah.
it's a shame that you talk to. It's a shame you talk to film students these days and they don't know who he is. So I don't know.
Well, they will. They will.
Another
Now.
person, yeah, that's it. The other person is is Wim Wenders. He's a beautiful filmmaker. I really love him, and one of his films that just moved me incredibly was Paris, Texas. So if you haven't seen Paris, Texas,
Beautiful.
it's just so beautiful. It's just one of the most beautiful films. And then the last film I've got here is, the fourth film I've got here is actually a film that belongs to probably my favorite living filmmaker right now. And is a filmmaker I try to push on to everyone. I'm saying, have you watched this film? Have you watched these films? Have you watched these films? And please, I just want people to watch it. It's Andrei. I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong. He's a Russian filmmaker, Andrei Zygensdev. And one of my favorite films, which is quite modern, is Loveless. I just love Loveless. It's just blows me away, pretty much. And then probably the fifth film that I've got here on my list, which is just incredible. I'm going way back. I'm going to say The Night of the Hunter. It's just an incredible film.
Wow. That is,
just really incredible film.
Wow. Night of anyone who's into like really amazing black and white, like actual black and white cinematography that's done by skilled craftsmen, and like just like you've got to watch that film because it's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers when you watch it. You're like, how the heck did they actually pull that off? It is unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's so unsettling.
Yeah. Oh, very unsettling.
Yeah. It's like, even for that time, even when I watch it today, it's like, this is such a sinister film, and it's just you can't look away from it because it just looks spectacular. You're like, wow. It's like, wow,
unbelievable. Wow. Yes, unbelievable. So so out of those 5 films, which 2 do you think you could sort of dig a bit deeper into?
For me, easily, because I think I've spoken about them so much over my years, and every time I talk about cinema, I always seem to come back to them. The 2 would be Apocalypse Now, because it's just so grandiose, and there's just so much happening in that film. And then the other one that I could talk about for ages, and it's because partly I still don't understand it, and people go, oh, you don't understand the film, that's why you don't like it, or whatever, or that's why it's shit. And it's like, no, I think not understanding it is probably the best quality about it, which is Stalker. Which is Stalker. That film, like I just watched that film. I'm like, my God, what am I watching? You know, like, what is this? You know, and it kind of saddened me. It saddens me because I don't think that type of film or anyone could make that type of film today. It's kind of untouchable, it just breaks my heart. But when I watch that film, it's just like, this is just something so alien and just so like it's tapping into something so intricately deep. I can't even fathom it to some point, you know.
So could you actually explain what it's about, Stalker?
So I reckon I could give you like a gist of what's about. So what it is, so the film is Russian because obviously Andrei Tarkovsky is Russian, and obviously it's got to do with this place that has come into existence, which is called the Zone. And the Zone is this designated area in Russia, or this area, and it's quite elusive and it's quite mysterious, and people don't know what it is. And I think once people started to enter into it, like, they wouldn't come out; they would die or something like that. And it became quite a taboo, if you will, or secret this kind of new unknown existence that was there. So it became a very security-driven place, and you can't go into it. But the reason why people want to get into this zone is because within the zone there's another place which is called, I think, and forgive me if this is wrong, I think it's called the Room. I think the Room within the zone. Right. And the Room is, once you get to the Room, it has this very mystical, very deep power that grants you your greatest desires. And so then you have these people called stalkers, which is what the film is
Right.
called, Stalker. And stalkers are about people who illegally transport people into the zone and takes them to the room. And the film follows. I think he's the stalker main character he leads these two characters. I think one is like a philosopher or a writer or so, and it's almost like he's given up on hope. He doesn't really know the essence of life or the essence of existence anymore, and why is man here? And he wants to find that out. That's his greatest desire. He wants to discover that. And the other guy, I can't remember what he is, but I think it's something like that. It's something like that. I think, was it a politician or something? I haven't seen it before. But anyway, it's quite a complex role that he does in life as well. And I think, and anyway, so that's where you kind of get the gist of that. They're going there to feed their greatest desires. And, you know, the film transitions from this very grainy, monochrome, but stunning look. And then once we get into the zone, it's some of the best imagery and cinematography you'll ever see. Like, and if you're trying to be a good cinematographer, that's another reason why to watch Tarkovsky films. And you know, but then it's the journey through the zone of Stalker is then how it's just changing and how they change, and then how they question what does your soul, what does your spirit want, and what your spirit wants, is that different to what your physical mind wants? So it's kind of challenging the components of what is it that we want internally and what is it that we actually desire, and do we even know what we want, you know? And it's about the conflict in that. And again, it goes into immortality and the like death, you know, can humans live forever, and you know, why, the purpose of why we're here. And it becomes very complex, and that gets really challenged to the extent, you know, of trying to find this room. And as they get deeper into the zone, it's like, it becomes more methodical and more meditative and transparent. And all of a sudden you don't know if we're actually in the zone anymore, or if we're just in their own dreams, if they're just dreaming, if they're already dead then. And it's like, all right, are we just living in their own internal subconscious dreams, you know? And we're already looking at their desires manifesting. And it's a very deep film, but it's just, and you know, and look, it's a very methodical film. So it moves at a very slow pace, but there's so much, but there's still so much going on, you know?
Yes.
You may think that the image is still or whatever, but there's so much just happening, you know. And that's what Tarkovsky does. He makes you think, he makes you feel. It's kind of like he ignites all the five senses of why you're watching the film. Like, so you're seeing the wind, you feel the wind, you hear the wind, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it's very atmospheric and you know, really challenges the ideas of what it is to be a living human being. Really,
being a human.
It's really
I like
tough.
that. I like that. Is it true with Tarkovsky he sought out locations that were pre-existing and sort of used them within his stories? Is that correct? Am I
well, here's the sad thing that here's the sad thing that people don't realize, that pretty much Tarkovsky and a lot of the crew died from shooting on Stalker, because the areas that they shot at within Stalker was still quite highly radiated. So like with radiation. So when they shot Stalker, 2 years later, I believe he made his, and I could be wrong, I have to talk to my mentor, because Paul Fogo is even bigger Tarkovsky, and so he could correct me. I believe what happened was they shot on real locations, like you're saying, in Stalker, which was around the Russian Chernobyl area. And then 2 years later, I believe he made his last film, which was Offred, The Sacrifice.
Right.
And then I believe that majority of the crew, like all those main actors and Tarkovsky, majority died because of like liver failure and all that, which was from radiation from the locations that they were on within Stalker.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah,
gosh,
it's really crazy.
I did not know that, man. I did not know that. Wow. Gosh.
Yeah, so that's it's like,
wow, that's that's heavy. That's like really following.
It is.
Really going in for your art, and then it's sort of succumbing you in a way, I guess. And
and you see it on screen,
wow.
like you see this landscape that they're shooting in, and you're like,
yes,
it looks it looks extravagant. It looks like an alien landscape. It looks like wow, it's like, and he just observes. His camera is just an observant. It's like a shadow. Like it doesn't cut. It doesn't shift too much. It just watches. And then you're kind of just watching as well, and it's just making you unnerving because you're like watching these very internally complex and conflicted characters, kind of wrestling with themselves and each other through this kind of subconsciously interchanging landscape, and it's like, wow, there's so much going on here, it's like, phew. God. So, it's incredible. Yeah. It's incredible film. Stalker. Film, everyone, please watch it. Watch it. Yeah.
Well, so talking about incredible films, Apocalypse Now is in that same realm of being an incredible film. Like it's to me, like I remember seeing Apocalypse Now when I was back in university back in South Australia when I was a lot younger, and they. Francis Ford Coppola had just released the Redux version, and it was in the cinema. And so I was in film school at the time, and I went there and watched it. And so that's the extended version of it. Like I had already seen what he had already done previously, but then I went and saw this, and there's obviously more scenes in there. It's a lot longer, but it's just like mind-blowingly visual, mind-blowingly epic. The story and the journey and so forth and even. Like the story on screen is epic, but even the story behind the scenes is even more epic.
Oh man, it's just crazy.
It's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. Like what is your? I don't know. What do you like about that film? What's your thing?
I mean, like seriously, like what don't I like about it? I mean, to be honest with you, that film. I mean, yes, I love it because it's such a great film, but I love it because it's an inspiration to me as a storyteller because it's so vast. It's so grand, but it never loses sight of its story. Yes. No matter how big it gets, no matter how crazy this film is, it's still following the core of a very basic and very simple storyline within it. And that story is just to go upstream and to find Colonel Kurtz, and then it's about what he does externally of that, and what you're seeing is just so it's so crazy. Like you're questioning like what is going on? Like this cannot be happening, And I just remember I got a funny story. I had always I remember it. When I was kind of early watching cinema and all this, and then that one kind of always popped up, and I was like, "Oh, Apocalypse Now, I could watch that. I could watch." And I always just asked my mum, she's like, "Oh, I hate that film. I hated it."
Really?
Like, oh, you hate that film? And she's like, "Yeah, I hate that film. I don't like it at all." And I was,
why?
She never said why. She just said, she says, I hate that film. It's horrible. And I was like, oh, wow. Because then I remember like flicking through my book, like my 1001 movies you must see before you die.
Yes.
And I just remember coming to that image, and it was just like Marlon Brando, like in the shadow and in the light. I was like, what the F is this? I was like, my God, I need to see this. And then I just remember just finally getting it. And sitting down, I watched it by myself actually because my mum didn't want to watch it. They went and watched another movie, and I just sat in the other living room and watched Apocalypse Now. And I just remember that opening scene with the trees and then the napalm exploding.
Blowing
I was just like,
I
was like, my God. And you asked me what do I like about it? Well, I think cinematography is one of the biggest things about that film that I love. Like the visual essence of everything is just like, this is unbelievable, unbelievable. And Vittorio Storaro, the way he just
uses color,
indulges color into that film.
It's really interesting though, isn't it? Because it's really interesting how he uses color because color in a war film, because it's about the Vietnam War. Obviously, it's set at the backdrop of the Vietnam War, but like you wouldn't expect color to be such a a poignant thing with a film like that. You'd think you'd be going a bit more dreary or morbid or maybe literal, but with that, he's like using, the greens of the jungle, the the colors of everyone's skin tones, like, at night,
man.
the blues and like the richness of like really rich, like
so
colors.
rich.
Yeah, very rich.
Yeah, man. And I can watch that film today, and you can call me biased, I don't care, but I watched the film today and I still think that film substantially looks so much better than half the films coming out today. I just think it's just so incredibly amazing, just looks. I mean, I only just watched it recently again, and I just think, my God, this film is just crazy good looking, and also you're talking about colors. I get blown away by his use of just light and shadow. The way these characters move in and out of shadow, it's like, my goodness. And like, people today, like, it's kind of changed a little bit, unfortunately, where they say, oh, look, if that's the look you want, we can shoot it at this level, and then we can take it to post and we can fix it. And it's just like, that's disgusting. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, don't do that, And what I love about, I hate it. It's laziness. I hate it. And what I love about Apocalypse Now is that they created that feel. They everything you see on screen. They
camera. Yeah.
They push that.
Yeah.
They push
that.
They push that. Yeah, like when you see Marlon Brando come out of the shadows for the first time and back in, that's all pushed, and I'm just like, my God, this is incredible. And then there's this, actually, Stalker and Apocalypse Now have the same thing, and I'm going to say what it is. What it is, it's that essence of the unknown, which creates a bigger search within the characters that we're following. So
very true.
What I mean by that is, you're in Stalker, we know about this room, and that's what's driving the entire film. But we don't get to see the room until the very end of the film. In Apocalypse Now, the unknown essence is Colonel Kurtz, and we're seeing all this information about Kurtz, but we don't get to meet Kurtz until the end of this 3.5 hour film.
Yeah.
But and what that does, it just amazingly creates this journey where you have to keep watching, because like, I need to know who this guy is. I want to go up the river with him. Like, I need to know who he is. And you're like, it just makes you invested, And I guess I love that kind of whole, I think to pinpoint it, because it's such a big film and we could talk about it for ages. I know it's because there's so much depth about philosophically as well, and methodically and metaphysically and spiritually. There's all those other layers, especially when Colonel Kurtz comes into it. But I think, strip it back just for us tonight, I think, the thing that I really love is just it's telling just a strong enough, simple enough story, but again, creating a massive world externally through the journey of the characters. We're following the characters, but through their eyes as observants, we're seeing the craziness around them. We're not getting too involved, but it's their presence and their existence in that space is allowing us just to kind of experience it as well from a very neutral point of view as well. It's just like, wow, like it kind of doesn't feel forced either, and
you're exactly right. It doesn't feel forced at all. Like, and you are right in the sense of just like some of the characters, I guess, that Martin Sheen's character comes across in his journey to find Marlon Brando's character is, it goes, like you were saying, it goes on that metaphysical or that spiritual sort of journey. Because like, for instance, like Martin Sheen meets the crazy colonel on the beach, played by Robert Duvall, who's making his men surf on the beach while there's bombs going off in the water. And then, as they go down, they go into the French plantation, and they, there's that scene.
I love that. That's like, one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites.
That's unbelievable. And then
that imagery for that is for a creative just blows my mind. Just going down the river and all of a sudden this plantation house like appears out of the forest, you know? Like, I mean, if that doesn't do anything for you, for a creative, I don't know what does, because that's just like, my God, like, where is this going? You know, this is just, it's just an atmospheric journey of complete immersion. Like, you're in it, you know what I mean? It's like you're going crazy with the, you know, you're experiencing it. And what I love about it as well, it really challenges you as an audience member, because obviously at the start of the film, you're kind of given this kind of setup piece that where, okay, Colonel Kurtz is the bad guy, Martin Sheen's the good guy. That's what what this is. So we're going to watch this, and that's what we're going to follow this character to go and kill him. That's what we're going to do. But then, you know, as you go on this amazingly complex journey, and as we kind of start to understand, see the craziness that I was talking about before, that we see through these characters and what they go through, that's happening externally to them, you start then to get challenged that, okay, maybe Colonel Kurtz isn't as
such a bad guy,
bad as what the government doing it. And it's like obviously what we're seeing today, and the way political systems work within the military. It's like they've obviously exiled him because of the damages he was doing, because of his movements and his idolisms and his philosophy. And even when you get to the moment where Kurtz comes into the film, we just see that he's actually almost like a god in some way. He is actually superiorly intelligent and present, and kind of almost has too much understanding of the world. You know, and that's kind of the tragicness of it, because obviously that's why his last. And if you haven't seen the film, I'm sorry, but it's been out for like 70 years, so I don't care if I'm going to spoil it. But his last words, obviously, before he gets eliminated, is like the horror, you know,
the horror,
which is just like, okay, there's so much more going on here, you know.
Oh, totally.
So
totally.
There's
like
so much depth to it. It's just like, you know,
wow. Like especially Martin Sheen's character goes on the downward spiral, you know, especially towards the end when he, you know, takes out Kurtz. You know, it's just like, you know, him coming out of the water, you know, with the light, and he's got his camo on his face, and it's just all this this music, just like hypnotic, and you're taking in this. What is going on here? Like, you know, you start wondering, like, it's bonkers and ballistic, like,
you know. And I almost, just if I can add, I just want to say it's almost like when people have big budgeted stuff today. Like, okay, for example, just for a crazy example, is like Tenet, you know what I mean? Which is the new one. It's almost like he had too much money, right? And he's like, what can we do? Like, we'll go and we'll
fly a plane or
we'll go throw a plane into a
building
and have it spit out gold bars at the back or whatever, right? It's almost like films today, they don't know how to handle or how to kind of properly kind of and simply, I guess, show that big scale stuff within its story. And that's what I love about Apocalypse Now. They do these grandiose scenes, like, you know, like the helicopters coming over the water. And like, I love the smell of napalm when that jet just rocks on in and just blows everything up. There's still a very simple kind of controlled essence to it. It's still stripped back so you can experience everything clearly, and you experience the moment in all its glory. There's nothing else interfering it. You're experiencing that. It's like, wow, okay.
It's like a dance, though. It's a very simple dance that follows in suit of like a step one, you know, after the other, but it's, you know, left, like, it's so vast in its I guess it's, you know, scope. Like, there's so much going on, but it doesn't treat it in a way where it's like, oh, we've got to capture this, we've got to capture that. It just lets it sit back and goes as wide as it. Obviously, it's shot in anamorphic, but it goes wide as it can be to capture that essence, which is like very like. But like, if you were to understand like behind the scenes of that film as well, there's some crazy stuff that went on behind the scenes with, you know, Francis Ford Coppola, the director who was trying to get this film made, that, you know, during production, they shot this thing in the Philippines to try and replicate what it was like in Vietnam. And like, they enlisted the help of the Filipino army to fly helicopters in the background. And like halfway during scenes when they're shooting pivotal scenes, these helicopters would just disappear and not come back. And it's because they were fighting wars with the rebels in the Philippines in the mountains. And so at the time, the president was calling these helicopters to go help. And so there's scenes there were scenes in the film that they were struggling to, you know, make in that respect. And also, you know, I think they built sets, and big typhoons and storms went through and ruined things for months, and they had to go back and reshoot stuff and rebuild stuff. And then on top of that, like Martin Sheen,
and how like Martin Sheen was like drinking, and then there's a scene in the hotel where he's kind of having a meltdown, and
he cuts his hand.
And he's trying to jump over the camera. Yeah, he's trying to jump over the camera and bash the hell out of Francis Ford Coppola. And they're just like, no, just stay there. And he had it
keep filming.
And the fact that people don't realize that Martin Sheen, it's crazy that people don't know that Martin Sheen only came in late. Like they originally had Nick Nolte for that role.
That's right, they did.
And then they kicked Nick Nolte off, you know, and they said, all right, now we'll get Martin Sheen in. So all this kind of
Martin Sheen had a couple of heart attacks on that film, or strokes, from what I understand.
He did.
He was on his deathbed, and the Filipino priest had to come in and like grant his last wishes, and then Brando rocked up, and he was big, you know, and he just you know, he was massive, and Francis Ford Coppola hadn't seen him for like ages, and thought, "What happened to you? What, you ate too much, man? Like, what's going on?" Like,
that's right. And wasn't it that whole
in darkness and stuff? So they didn't see his physicality because he was so conscious of that as an actor. Like,
and wasn't there a story where they needed him for another day or something, or another 2 days? Like we said, like we need to really get this, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do it unless you give me $2 million." And I'm like, okay. And they gave him like $2 million.
Give him $2 million
just to be for another 2 days or something.
Yeah, he was an interesting actor, that guy. Yeah.
And then you had like one of my favorites. And then you've also got like one of my favorites. You've got Dennis Hopper there, who's just playing a crazy role.
Yeah.
And Dennis Hopper's like just he's just absolutely high and absolutely drug fucked, like for real, making that film. And you're like, and he's just so good in it, man. You're like, whoa, Dennis Hopper and Brando, and you're like, wow. So it's like, this is incredible, man.
And you've got a young Lawrence Fishburne there as well. Like, plays one of the crew members on the boat. And
it's almost
keep going.
I was just gonna say, it's almost like it's almost just like your all-star football team, which I hate comparing it to. I mean, you got Brando, you got Robert Javert, you got Dennis Hopper, man, and just
Harrison Ford makes an appearance.
Harrison Ford's in there. That's right.
Mario got that one. She called it Garrison Ford, but we'll put the H.
I like Garrison Ford. Garrison Ford's pretty good.
Garrison Ford's the one. Yes.
Yeah, it's a great film.
But like, what I find interesting with that film is obviously Martin Sheen went through all that stuff to make that film. And then, like, you go years later on, and his son Charlie Sheen comes along, does Platoon with Oliver Stone, and it's like it's almost like art imitating life, and it's the same sort of thing going on. It's like, how does that, you know?
Yeah, that's just bonkers.
That's bonkers. Like, to play a role in the same war, depicting the same war, and like, you know, that your dad did and stuff. They pay out on that in one of those National Lampoon movies, I think. I saw he plays a Rambo character or something. Yeah, it's like I Love You on Wall Street, like when they go past in the boat.
Like Hot Shots or something. Hot Shots. But then, but also just quickly before we move on from that, like I find it funny. Like the last time I saw, actually, it's quite a lovely story because maybe I'm not a cinemaphile, but I had never seen Apocalypse Now at the cinema. And before lockdown, before we were all in this crazy lockdown, I remember that they brought out Apocalypse Now again, and they were playing at the IMAX cinema here in Melbourne. And I bought my ticket like that. I went, and it was like one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. And
that opening, the opening scene though, where it's just the jungle, and you hear the Jim Morrison song go, and see the napalm whipping through the jungle, the choppers and stuff like that. You know, cinema is such an amazing experience. You're not going to get that at home on a phone or on the TV.
No, you're not. Like, and it's funny when I watched it again. It's almost like, and like this isn't me spoiling the film, right? But it's almost like when I watch that film, it's almost like the last part of the film doesn't even exist. Like I almost question myself, like, did he even meet Kurtz? Like, I just feel like the jungle spoiled him up so much that it's actually now his
crazy ride.
ideas of what Kurtz would be like and how he.
It's an interesting
like,
take.
is this even real? Is this even real now? I'm like, man, I don't know if this is even real. You know, maybe the jungle just swallowed him up, just like it swallowed Kurtz up. You know,
it's based.
You know, it's
based on what's the guy's name that they based it on? Hearts of Conrad.
Hearts of. Yeah, Conrad. I've got the book. I've got the
Joseph Conrad.
I think it might be Hearts of Darkness. Yeah, the book Hearts of Darkness, where the book is. Yeah, and it's originally set in Congo. You know, set in Congo, but it's still Kurtz. You know, it's still Colonel Kurtz. But it's quite. Cool. Anyway, Apocalypse Now and Stalker. They're the two films, people.
Yes. Go watch them.
Yeah,
great lockdown entertainment. Just Okay, so so moving on, man. Let's talk about Angry Squad Viva Las Angry. So
man.
Just before when you dropped off, I was talking about where we're at and what's going on, and I'll just get the stats up here right now. So we are 104% funded, 63 backers, and there's 37 hours to go. 37 hours from right now. So on the 24th of August, which is in 2 days, well, day or so time, at 11 a.m. this campaign shuts down, and we'll go into production of the book, obviously. But yeah, I just want to firstly say thank you to everyone that has chipped in and got this thing over the line and pledged to their heart's content, and supported the book. It sort of means the world to me, and I'm glad I can get this next installment into everyone's hands. There was a point there where I was kind of a little bit worried that we wouldn't get over the line, but but we got there in the end. So anything from here on in is a bonus. I did talk about stretch goals earlier. Obviously, if we reach, I think we're at just over $5,700. But if we reach the $6,000 mark, I'm going to add 6 extra pages into the book. Six extra pages of story. So that's going to round it out really nicely. So looking forward to that. So like I said, Angry Squad. It's Viva Las Angry. It's got the vibe of like an 1960s Elvis movie. It's got hints of the A-Team, so like an ensemble team going into fight a bad guy, that sort of vibe. But there's a lot of heart and soul in this one. It's not just action. It's got a lot of heart and depth. You really get to know the characters and love them, and go on some crazy journey with them that you'll immerse yourself in. But I think you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll get sad, and you obviously get angry with it. But it's about what is it about? It's about the story's about Angry Fred. He's a grumpy old go-to guy who has kind of been forced to join this sort of team of ragtag misfits that's like two mercenary type hit women, like one called Loud Lily, the other one called Little Marie. Gary, actually Maury is just she's hoping that Gary the gorilla is okay in it. He is more than 100% okay in this. He goes on his own personal journey as well. Him and Fred. But I won't give it too much away because you obviously have to pledge and read the book and so forth to find out about it. But yeah, it's basically in a nutshell, Angry Fred becomes tormented by one of his best friends that he had during the Vietnam War, who comes back from the dead. When Angry Fred was in the Vietnam War, his friend Battle Jackson sort of came home in a body bag, and Angry Fred, survived the war, came home, and so forth. But in this story, Battle Jackson comes back from the dead and torments Angry Fred and takes on Las Vegas. And a past lover of Angry Fred comes along as well, who he met during the war, and she also died in the war, but she comes back too. Gets even better. They both torment Angry Fred in the sense of like Angry Fred's past lover comes in and seduces him and takes him on some wild ride in Vegas, and then his Battle Jackson comes to Vegas as well and torments, the city, and so the Angry Squad has to come in and sort of save Angry Fred from this crazy love triangle and like emotional turmoil that's going on within this story. So, but yes, Julie, yep, Gary the Gorilla. He's I'm thinking Gary the Gorilla is going to have a spin-off series of his own soon. He's quite popular
cool.
with everyone. So
I reckon that'd be cool. That'd be very cool.
It would be very cool. But
that.
yeah, I'm gonna I feel like I've kind of hawked the Angry Squad quite a lot on social media and all over the show to just trying to get this thing funded. But yeah, I'm going to pass it on to everyone to ask me some questions about, like, obviously in the comments you can ask me some questions about Viva Las Angry and the campaign and the story and so forth. But yeah, Mauro loves Gary. He's a cool character. Talking gorilla, how can you not like that?
Well, I've got a question.
Yes.
Well, I've got a question.
Yes.
Well, so here we are, and we're talking about cinema, and obviously we met through the history of film, and so I know yourself as well. Like, you've got such a great cinephile mind as well, and obviously like you've got your dad, who obviously played a big part into the creation of Angry Fred, the comic book, and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But coming from a inspiration and influence point of view, especially from cinema itself or films and stuff like that, and of course, as with this, obviously there's all the Elvis stuff that comes into it, which is really lovely. But then, going on a larger scale, film-wise, obviously, because when we see stuff that we really love, it's obviously subconsciously sticks to us, and then we kind of express that again in our own art. So I guess my question is, like, kind of what stuff when you kind of create Angry, is there anything like specifically like film-wise that you're drawing from, or films that you kind of look back at and connect with and go, yeah, there's a bit of this in that, there's a bit of that in there, and I can kind of see the same energy in this? I'd be really interested to know, because that kind of helps build the story as well.
Oh, it does. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And there's that's a really integral part. Like, obviously my background is in filmmaking. I love cinema. I love watching movies. And I think, I guess you could say, like, things like, and it's very indirect. Like, I've actually got this mantra that I like hold myself to whenever I'm getting a bit down about if this thing's going to work or not. And like, at the end of the day, I'm not in this for the money. I'm in this to just get good stories out there for people to watch and be entertained and be immersed in. And sometimes when I'm feeling like, oh damn, I just feel like not enough people are watching this or taking notice, and it's like, well, things take time, it's not like it's going to happen overnight, but it's like the shampoo ad, it will happen, but I always say to myself, Angry Fred is my Mad Max. And what I mean by that is, like, Mad Max is obviously an influence in this. Like, it's not a direct influence, but I feel like with Mad Max, it's a character that George Miller created here in Australia, took it internationally, and, like, of all places, it became very famous in Japan, to the point where the Japanese, to the point where the Japanese like correlate Mad Max as like this lone samurai character that's going on a journey, trying to get revenge and create justice, that sort of thing. So Fred lives on he will and he's the extension of my dad as well. He's obviously that. He's my dad played this character obviously in a film I made called The Counterpart years ago, dressed the same way, smoked cigars the same way, that sort of thing, and that takes direct reference from that. But I guess a lot of like influences like Mad Max, Indiana Jones, just the adventure of those films, like especially Last Crusade for me, like where you've got the character of Sean Connery and Harrison Ford, the father and son thing going on, where they're butting heads, but they've got to get the thing, the thing done. Like, I think some of that is instilled in the way I write these stories, where Angry Fred is set in his ways, but he's got these younger people around him that are obviously he doesn't understand how they operate, and he's got his own way, and they're just they throw stuff at each other, and they go ahead with it. So I guess there's that as an influence. I guess the vibe of films like The Rocketeer, I watched that a while ago, like a few weeks ago, and that in itself is just like one of those a film that just has so much heart, and it's immersive and stuff, but there's so much heart and love and soul in a film like that. It's just amazing to watch.
So strong.
Like, it's
so strong.
So strong. Like
so good.
But yeah, films like that. Like I grew up watching a lot of I don't know. I guess a lot of TV that was kind of in its infancy back then. Like, so for instance, like Don Johnson in Miami Vice, the A-Team, Mission Impossible, the TV show back in the Man from U.N.C.L.E. and stuff like that. I was at TV like for that era, but the characters and like the adventure and the way that was portrayed, like, really captured me as a young guy. I guess that sort of stayed with me a little bit, and a lot of that sort of instilled into this as well. So, but yeah, I guess hopefully that answers your question. Like,
well, it does, man, and like, it does, man, and like also like speaking of The Rocketeer, like, I mean, I think we've spoken about this before, but I mean, like that's quite similar or not dissimilar to The Rocketeers, like films like The Phantom. I see a real strong sense of like The Phantom in this, and I love The Phantom. I have so much fun with it. I can just instantly immerse and kind of return to kind of that kid kind of state of nature when watching The Phantom, and that's what I think is happening with this, like with the comics. It kind of creates that entryway for yourself to kind of go back to that state of being a kid and just kind of enjoying this in a kid type way, like of just an adventure. And like, The Phantom really did that for me. And like you said, the Rocketeer and, even the A-Team, it has that kind of, it has that fun vibe, kind of, fun vibe, nature to it, and it's really, And like, my God, like we were speaking about before, Army of Dead kind of plays into that kind of atmosphere. It plays into that atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely.
And
it's like
there's similarities there.
Well, it's definitely all those all those ragtag sort of characters that you get. They're not the same. They're all dissimilar. They're all you have like in the A-Team you've got like Mr. T's character, but then you've got the other guys that are, quite straight-laced or they're quite suave or whatever. And then you look at, that's right. You look at, like, with the Angry Squad, we've got an old guy up the front. Like, it's an odd choice. Like, why do we like this guy? Why can't it be some young, hot, like, people at the front where, you got some grumpy old guy? How does that equate to something that people should be reading? And, like, I just feel like, throwing a bunch of ragtag misfits together and like the odd the ones that are the bench or the underdogs, I guess you could say, that interests me. That really interests me because through that you get quirky stories and quirky backstories, and that comes out, and the way they see the world is very different. So yeah,
man. Well, I agree, man. I mean, it's almost like you just mentioned the Wild Bunch. It's almost like that, what I mean? It's like all those group of old ragtags come together. But it's almost like you're saying it's almost like you're saying you're having an old guy at the front leading this. But I mean, it almost kind of plays into that space and like connects to the same chord, which is like having clicked with those awesome searching own films, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or A Fistful of Dollars and all that. And it's kind of he's this kind of old, kind of withered dude, but you're kind of following him on this kind of amazing journey, like, and even like, and even more on the kind of serious side, but like Unforgiven,
Yes.
Kind of this this kind of team of killers back together, and it's him, Morgan Freeman, and they're old, and they're struggling to shoot a gun, but they're still internally they're still killers, you know.
Yes.
And it's always there. Again, it's different, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's still you're following that old kind of, and I think that's fascinating, because when you're following someone old and who's kind of battered, withered, you know, there's history, and there's a depth there, and there's a reason why they're acting the way they're acting. It's because of history, and then we have that history you want to explore.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But if you put someone young and they're just doing wild crazy, there's no reason for thinking to it. But I think it's a lot more interesting when you have a character who's got lines of life running through them, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that, because in the story there's actually a scene, we have a bit of a flashback in this comic book where we look at what happens to Angry Fred at a certain point in time, and that sort of dictates, that sort of like is a direct correlation to what's happening in the story in the present time, and then you start to understand why he's kind of acting the way he's acting, or why he's done certain things within the story at the start. So it sort of brings it all home, and it becomes more, you know, deep and open, and you start to, you know, I guess, empathize with the character a lot more and understand who he is as a human being, as well. So
for sure. Majorly, I reckon. Majorly.
Yeah. But we have a question. We have a question from Maura. Is the ultimate way ahead to go into an animated series? Oh. Yeah, well,
do like an Akira version of Angry Fred.
Wow, that would be something. Jeez. Wow. There's a number of ways you could do it. There's a number of ways we could do that. I don't know if I'm thinking that far ahead. I'm not sure. Like it has been on my mind. Like, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I can understand the mechanics and the technicalities and how that would play out. I can see it. I just don't know. I think I'm a bit scared of that, to be honest, because that'd be such a huge task to undertake, and it's like, where do you take that? But yeah, it's definitely, you know, years down the track, it'll be definitely something I'd like to explore. I would like to explore a live action, you know, real people, maybe moving like that, but that's way ahead in the future.
I reckon that'd be cool. I reckon that's the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. But like an animated series definitely would be cool. But if I was to do an animated series, I'd have to do it. Maybe not like Akira, but something in that vein.
I'll tell you what could be cool, like if you kind of like the animation that's really starting to kind of manifest right now, which is really quite new and really quite awesome, is like the animation that, you know, like the new Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse kind of world was created.
I like that. It's very cool. Yeah,
that's really cool, man. It's like really cool.
Yeah,
and you can do something really like that. You can really explore.
Yeah,
wow, this is just so new and fresh.
That captured my attention, because I know Phoenix was, I think, watching the trailer for it somewhere. I don't know why he was watching it, but I was like looking at it, that's really unique and different. I was like, wow, that's very, very unique. But yes, live action would be cool, Maura, for sure, 100%. Definitely would be cool.
Be very cool. I agree. I agree. I think it'd be very cool too.
Yeah,
very cool.
I've got a question here. Actually, this is actually from Maura. She supports me on Patreon, and this was one question that she put on ages ago when I was toying with the idea of actually having this live show. And this is one question that she put forward. Well, you know, I did actually say that if we reach the funding goal, I would actually sing an Elvis song. So, and Julie, my partner Julie, keeps at me. No, not right now, man. She keeps pushing. She was pushing me last night to figure out what song I was going to play, sing. So, she's like, "Oh, I can mix it. I can record it."
What song do you want? What song would you like? Like what's your favorite Elvis song?
It's a tough one, man. I don't know. Actually, if you want to watch a good documentary, there's a 2-part documentary series on Netflix at the moment called Elvis the Searcher. It's really good. It's actually, sorry to segue, I'll come back, but the way this documentary is created, we don't see anyone that has been interviewed in it, so there's no face of like anyone talking. The way that they've created it, I've actually never seen anything like this. Well, there probably has been stuff out there. What am I saying? But the way I've seen a lot of Elvis documentaries, and a lot of them are just like, you know, interviewing people that knew him, or taking stuff from stock footage of people that had been interviewed because they've obviously died. But what they've done with this, they use images of Elvis, obviously footage of Elvis, and then stock footage from all the different eras of, like, you know, back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, of what the culture and the social space. And underneath that, they obviously play Elvis music. They use sound bites of Elvis talking in interviews, but they also use snippets from interviews of all the people that they've interviewed, obviously, that are still alive. And then obviously people from, you know, that have passed on but knew Elvis, and taken them from interviews. But all it is just their voice speaking underneath. So you get guys like Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty talking about Elvis, and then it will cut to, like, you know, Elvis. But all you're seeing is just images of Elvis, and there's stuff where they're just zooming in on his face and looking into his eyes, and they're talking about him. And, like, you know, you never see anyone talking about him on screen, which I thought was a really, really cool way to sort of, you know, immerse yourself in the experience. And you actually,
that's cool.
It's the first time I've actually watched something where I'm like, oh, I actually understand this guy more than I did actually in previous documentaries. I'm like, oh, he was actually he was a searcher, and he was a true, like, artist. Like, he was a true artist. Yeah, fair enough. A lot of his songs were maybe covers to begin with, and he never wrote a song. Everything was written for him. But, like, in the essence, he knew what to do. You know, he was leading everyone along the way when he was trying to, you know, record a song, or when he was on stage, or he was trying to do something. So it was actually a really different experience from what I've, you know, experienced in the past. So it's well worth a watch. It's called The Searchers, Elvis. Yeah, type it in the Netflix. But
I might do that tonight.
It's really worth watching. Yeah, for sure, man. What's my favorite Elvis song? I don't know. I think Mario says it's Viva Las Vegas is the song we should sing, but I've got a cool way. Yeah.
On the I was just going to say, on the topic of Elvis Presley, then you probably don't like this question, but how are you looking forward to Baz Luhrmann's Elvis Presley film?
I know your answer. I don't know. I'm quietly kind of excited. I like Baz Luhrmann's interesting. I'm optimistic. Like, yeah, but Snazzy Baz, as you should call him. You know, that's what he should be called. I don't know. I'd be very interested to see what he does with it, and how he sort of tackles what part of Elvis's journey he tackles. Yeah, it'll be. I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Tom Hanks play the Colonel, like Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker. That intrigues me, how they're going to tie that into it. And what one thing I'm not really looking forward to is anytime they play Elvis, they always use Elvis's songs as, you know, someone syncs it, like they lip sync it, and that it just doesn't come across right. So I'd be really interested to see what Baz Luhrmann does with this. I don't know. I think he might do it justice. Who knows? I'm not sure, but I'd be very, very interested to see what happens with that story. But yeah, I think we lost Adam again. No, he's still there. So he's still there, Adam. I'm back. Okay, cool. Back from the dead.
I'm still here, unfortunately.
Don't say that. But yeah, yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what that they shot it here in Australia, which is really interesting. So it'd be interesting to see what they've done with that. But yeah,
Yeah, it will be
yeah,
interesting.
it will be. Yeah, man. Is there any more questions? Anyone?
Come on, people.
Silence is definitely. Come on, people. I'll see if there's any more questions coming
Yeah.
through for us somewhere else. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let me have a look and see. I don't think I've got anything else, guys. But yeah, if we, like I was saying, Viva Las Angry, the Kickstarter, it ends in about 37 hours. So 11 a.m. on the 24th of August, which is what's the day? What is that? Is that like a Tuesday? It's Wednesday morning. No, Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, it ends at 11 a.m.
It's a Tuesday morning, my man.
Yeah, 11 a.m. at Australian Eastern Standard Time. So, I'm like I said before, I'm super grateful that we've reached the funding goal and we can get this great book out to you guys. It really means the world to me. It's yeah, it's a fun story. Those of you that are into ensemble team sort of tropes like movies and TV shows that have got people that come together and bash it out. You'll be really interested into that. And like Adam was saying earlier, like films like The Phantom, the essence of that, or Indiana Jones, or even things like Tintin. It has essence of that, yeah. And I hate to say it even has a little bit of it's got a high octane twist. So there's a car chase in it, and it kind of has little hints of like Fast and the Furious. And like Vin Diesel says, it is about family. Like essentially, the Angry Squad is a big family, so it's got that angle as well. So yeah, but yeah, guys, jump on the Angry train and Angry Fred Kickstarter .com/squad is where you need to go to get on it and check out the page and pledge away and jump on it. So
definitely get on. Yeah, definitely get onto it. I've got the first comic book, and it's just awesome. I really enjoyed it. It blew my mind. And then this one, I haven't seen or read this one, but I mean, I've only seen the images that Lucas has put up transparently, but it just looks incredible. Like the colors look vivid, the art looks amazing.
Yeah.
So I just
yeah. I need to give a shout out to Martin. Yeah. Oh, thank you. It looks it's actually bonkers. Like Martin Pissot from Napalm Comics has obviously illustrated the book, and it's bonkers. Like some of his inking artwork is just it's like hyper bold ink artwork. It's very very thick lines and very in your face, but the way he's used the colors in this book is very clever. We're using color schemes like yellows and greens and so forth to sort of signify certain characters and work on the emotions. Like obviously color, there's a lot of science around color, especially in films and artwork and comic books. So we've delved into a little bit of that, and it's very vivid and bright as well. Like it's got that Vegas sort of vibe, very vivid and bright and in your face. So that's something that we really worked hard on.
So he's pretty much like the the Storaro of comic books.
Pretty much, man. Yeah, I would say so. I would go that far and say that. Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's like that. Storaro of comic books. Yeah.
It's like I like that. I like that. I don't know if that would be a good marketing campaign, and but who knows? Who's Storaro?
I'm sure. I'm sure Storaro would approve of it. I'm sure he would approve it. Storaro would be like,
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny you say that. One film you should watch that Storaro did the cinematography on is Dick Tracy. You want to see color being used very vividly and brightly and really, really well. Go watch Dick Tracy again. That's a comic book, and it's the color palettes and just the use of color in that is just like amazing.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
incredible.
really full on. That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we're talking about that real quickly, I'd also say people, you need to watch the La Conformista, the Conformist, because like he shot that as well.
Yes, he did,
and that just looks
brilliant.
That just looks incredible. It's just like
constantly
dissolving and sinking light. And, again, the color, it's just like, wow. It's just like, okay, this guy's on another level.
He is on another level to the point. To the point where he's a true artist. Like, he's a cinematographer that would, pass on movies if they came to him, like big budget stuff, where he would rather let his family not eat, and go without dinner, like go without food on the table, than actually, go do something that was too commercial for his liking. Yeah, he's that type of guy. Yeah, so.
I mean,
definitely.
It's kind of like, I mean, it's not obviously not to that. It's probably not to that extent, but I mean, that's what I love about like Deakins today. Like Deakins is Roger Deakins is such a great filmmaker, but and I listen to his podcast so much, which is lovely, and he kind of brings up on a constant basis the way they don't just snatch at scripts that get sent to them on a constant basis. They're kind of craving good stuff, and they will only do good stuff now. And he's like, it's not about money. I just want to do good films, And
exactly.
He says, I've already been lucky enough to make good films, but now I just that's all I want to do. And and I really liked it because I spoke about Andre Zeigensteff, a little bit before, about Loveless and his other films like The Return and and The Banishment and all that. And like, he's got an amazingly like incredible cinematography mind, because he, like, Andre and his cinematographer, I can't remember his name, I'll have to look it up, sorry, but like they shoot everything on film still, and
very rare,
and
very rare.
Like their films just look very rare, and the fact that someone like Roger Deakins kind of holds him in high regard to get him onto his show, this Russian filmmaker, trying to bring him into the modern world as well. I think it's just really, that's kind of a good thing there, and you should really look at that as well. But that's just kind of
definitely.
A little bit of a segue, but it's almost kind of
no. It's very like right. Oh, you're right with Roger Deakins. Like, he obviously shoots stuff that he is passionate about and wants to tell it, knows it's a good story, and then I guess that's quite evident in the people that he works with. Obviously with Denis. How do you say the guy's last name? Villeneuve, is that right? With the guy Sicario
and Denis Villeneuve or something.
Yeah. And like, did he shoot? He shot Blade Runner, didn't he? Is that right?
Yeah,
Deakins,
and Sam Mendes. He loves
Sam Mendes for 1980.
Yeah, he shot Blade Runner. He shot Blade Runner.
Is it 1914? 1918. 18, yeah. Sorry.
1917.
17. Sorry, gosh.
And
what am I thinking?
Yeah, but like like American Beauty, Revolutionary Road. My God, there's so much out there. Doubt, he shot Doubt, which looks great. I mean, No Country for Old Men. I mean, that's probably and then and then, for example, like the assassination of Jesse James, which is just spectacular.
That opening, that scene with the train. The scene with the train is just like
It's just like, this is like, what is this? It's good to see modern cinematographers, and it's so funny. Like, that guy's. Sorry, Roger, I don't want to say your age more than it is, but isn't he like 70 something? Like 75?
He's old,
He's old, but he's still killing, and he's still killing people like in the game. Like, not many.
He's got a youthfulness about him. Yeah.
He does, what I mean? So it's great to see that, what I mean? It's great to see that.
He's got an interesting following in the younger community as well. Well, most younger community. Like, he's got a bit of a fan base there. People do flock to see him, and when he's in certain interviews or conventions and stuff. So
well, stay tuned, because hopefully he'll work on my film.
I think he will, man. Like, there's you've got a number of films under your belt that definitely warrant his
Need him.
attention for sure. Yes, you do.
Yes. I need Roger. I need Roger.
We'll just call him up. Anyone know Roger? All right, call him up now.
Yeah, if anyone knows Rogers, I mean, yeah, maybe I should just contact him via the podcast. But, yeah.
Well, you could. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You might be on there.
Yeah.
All right. So we are. I think we're at the end of the show, guys.
I think we are.
We are. We like talking a lot, but we must love and leave everyone today. I just want to say thank you, everyone, once again. For
thank you.
jumping on. Yeah. Thank you for jumping on the Angry Squad Viva Las Angry campaign, and thank you, Adam, for coming on here and talking about your love for cinema and all the different films and giving their recommendations. I truly appreciate it because they're very specific films, they're very in-depth films, and they're films that make you think, and they're films that come from the heart, the soul, and they live in the mind, and they're very, very passionate choices. And I appreciate you sharing them with us because
thanks, man.
Yeah, we need. I think people. That's okay. I think people need to watch more things that are a slow burn and make you think and challenge your mind a little bit and open your mind up a little bit more than just the norm. Like I like getting myself immersed in everything that comes out these days and enjoy it for what it is. But I think there's still a lot of old cinema that's still been unexplored that even I need to watch, and you'd be the
Absolutely.
same. So, yeah,
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
always.
It's, we may do this again in another month. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Let us know if we didn't bore you too much, and we'll do it again.
So Angry Squad. Go to angryfredkickstarter.com/squad if you want to donate. There's still time. There's 37 hours. If we can get it up to the $6,000 mark, I'd be. Well, someone has actually put money in. Who's put money in? Let's have a look. I don't know who it is. Someone's put money in, but thank you so much for.
Was that you, Hector?
I don't know. It's someone from. Well, I won't say where they're from, but yeah, it has an anonymous name. So, but thank you very much for putting it in. So we are 105% funded, which is awesome. Truly grateful.
Yeah, good that. Wow.
Hector. Oh, we actually got Hector. Thanks for the video. Good luck with the rest of this. I'm sure to catch up. Good man. Thank you for your kind words, sir. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it.
I'll stop drinking. I'll stop drinking Hector's beers. By the way, sorry, Hector.
All right. He still his beers. Oh.
I did. Yeah, I did. Sorry, bro.
Okay, guys. All right. Well, that's it for the show. We'll talk to everyone maybe in a month, or I don't know. We'll do it every 2 weeks. We don't know yet. I was just trying to test the waters here to see what's happening. So we might do something down the track. But I want to thank you, Adam, for coming on board. It's been a pleasure.
No problem, man. My honor.
Right. We'll see you next time, guys. Until then, everyone, get angry. Get on the Kickstarter. See you then. Bye.